Welcome back to NASM CPT exam prep. This is Chapter 3 of 20, still in basic and applied sciences and nutritional concepts. Today's lesson is the cardiorespiratory system. We'll cover how the heart and lungs support exercise, oxygen transport and VO2, and the difference between acute and chronic cardiorespiratory adaptations. Let's get into it. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to do 4 things. First, describe the roles of the heart, lungs, and blood vessels during exercise. Second, define cardiac output, stroke volume, and VO2 max. Third, differentiate acute and chronic cardiorespiratory adaptations. And fourth, explain why resting heart rate needs context, not just a number. Keep that last one in mind. It's more nuanced than it sounds. Let's talk about the delivery system. First, the heart, a 4-chambered pump that circulates oxygen-rich blood to working muscles and returns oxygen-depleted blood to the lungs. Second, the lungs. This is the site of gas exchange. Oxygen enters the bloodstream, and carbon dioxide, a metabolic waste product, is removed. And third, blood vessels. Arteries carry oxygen-rich blood away from the heart. Veins return depleted blood. And capillaries are where the actual exchange with tissue happens. If you want a simple picture to hold on to, trace the loop. Heart to arteries, to capillaries, where exchange happens, to veins, back to the heart, to the lungs, and back to the heart again. The whole system exists for one purpose: deliver oxygen to working muscles and remove waste. Now, let's look at the numbers that actually matter. Cardiac output, blood pumped per minute, heart rate multiplied by stroke volume. Stroke volume, blood pumped by the heart with each single beat. And VO2 max, the maximum rate the body can consume and use oxygen during intense exercise. Let's repeat that cardiac output formula because it matters. Heart rate times stroke volume. This is one of the most directly testable facts in the whole domain. Here's the practical connection. A higher stroke volume lets the heart deliver more blood per beat, and that's part of why trained clients often have a lower resting heart rate. Let's look at immediate versus long-term changes. Acute adaptations happen immediately during a single session. Elevated heart rate, increased breathing rate, redirected blood flow. Chronic adaptations build over weeks to months of training. Increased stroke volume, increased capillary density, lower resting heart rate, higher VO2 max. This is the same acute versus chronic distinction that runs through the whole course. A single session is the stimulus. Consistent training over time is the actual adaptation. If this sounds familiar, it should. Connect it back to Lesson 1's general adaptation syndrome. Acute adaptations are the alarm stage response. Chronic adaptations are the resistance stage payoff after repeated, recovered training. Here's an important nuance. A lower resting heart rate isn't automatically better. In a well-trained client, a low resting heart rate reflects a positive chronic adaptation. But in an untrained or symptomatic client, an unusually low or irregular heart rate can be a medical red flag. Context always matters more than the number alone. This connects forward to Lesson 6's health risk screening, which you'll cover later. I want you to slow down on this one. The same number can mean 2 very different things, depending on who you're looking at. And hold on to this principle for when you get there. Refer, don't diagnose. Let's check your understanding. Question: how is cardiac output calculated? Take a second and think it through. The correct answer is heart rate multiplied by stroke volume. Here's why. Cardiac output equals heart rate times stroke volume, the total blood pumped per minute. One more question. Which of these is a chronic cardiorespiratory adaptation? Pause and think back to what we just covered. The correct answer is increased stroke volume developed over weeks of training. Here's why. Increased stroke volume from consistent training is a chronic adaptation, developing over weeks to months. Let's bring it all together. The heart pumps blood. The lungs handle gas exchange. Blood vessels transport oxygen and remove waste. Cardiac output equals heart rate times stroke volume. VO2 max measures maximum oxygen consumption. Acute adaptations happen immediately in a single session. Chronic adaptations build over weeks or months of training. And a low resting heart rate reflects fitness in a trained client. But context always matters more than the number alone. Here's the bigger picture to carry forward. Everything in this lesson is really the why behind why steady state, interval, and fartlek training, which you'll see in Lesson 8, produce the effects they do. Great work getting through Lesson 3. Next up is Lesson 4, Exercise Metabolism and Bioenergetics. We'll cover the 3 energy systems that fuel every rep and every sprint. See you there.